failure. Merck more or less solved the V6 water ingestion with the idle relief mess in the early 90s. Yeah, that part of it, yes. But what happens, and we've seen it happen a lot on the inline fours now. So whether it's the 40, 50, 60, or if it was the 75, 90, and 115, pontoon boats. People overloading their pontoon boats and zipping down the lake and stopping too soon. Water gets deposited into the bottom cylinder, kills the engine. We see that on guys so tournament fishing boat, for example, with these larger engines, with the live wells at the back, put as much water as they, obviously they can hold in the back. They've got their 3-4 batteries. They've got, their 4 friends in the boat, and yeah, the boats are sitting slow in the water. When they come off plane, that big wave comes up behind them, in and up. So the best thing a person could do in a case like that is when you come off plane, idle it up. Like don't pull it all the way back to neutral. Pull it back so we're maybe at 1500, 2000 RPM, and then pull it back after that wave goes past, or turn the engine sideways. So physically turn the steering wheel. So when that big wave comes in, we don't get that problem. We see that often on Mercruiser. So it was happening with there's a baffle that's built into the exhaust. So there's a tube goes down, and in that there's an exhaust baffle that works up and down. So as the engine's running, it would go down and the exhaust goes past. But when that stops and the water pressure comes up, it snaps back up and prevents that water from going into the bottom cylinder. I just finished talking to a guy this year, and he's going to bring his boat in to work on in spring. And he says, well, I think my water pump isn't working because the engine's not running properly at idle. And I said, take me through it. What's going on? And that's what I like to do with the guys is I talk to them to get as much information as I can to lead me in the right direction to save money and save time. So he was thinking that the engine overheats and then it doesn't run properly at idle because it's getting hot. And I said, well, yes, but we should also see that at high speed. That's, kind of thing. So this is a new to him boat. So he bought this used boat, and it's been doing it more or less ever since he got it. I think since he got it, kind of thing. It's down on power, but again, new to him, he doesn't know, right? If it gets 4,000 RPM instead of 4,600 RPM, he doesn't know. Doesn't know if it's working properly or not. So anyway, I talked with him, and I asked him, I said, well, it sounds like that if it did overheat, it caused damage somewhere, somehow something happened. So whether or not it got hot enough to damage the engine itself mechanically, so 4-point seizure on the pistons, or something else has happened. So I said, take me, what does it look like? And he said, well, everything looks fine at the top, or whatever. But then later on in the conversation, he says, I took my gear case off. And when I took my gear case off, there was this metal piece down there with holes in it. Oh, that's your baffle. So, and then I explained to him what the baffle does. It stops that water from going into those bottom cylinders. So what he's done by continually running the engine, and most likely the guy before him, is every time they ran the engine and they'd stop on the water, up into the bottom cylinder or back cylinder, closest one, or whatever exhaust valve is open. Typically it's the back when it takes the abuse. So we can bend valves, we can hydraulic the cylinders, we can cause cylinder wall damage if enough water gets in. And a typical sign that this has happened is you pull back, the engine dies, stumbles and dies, you restart it and it runs poor, and then it cleans itself out. That's it expelling the water that was in that cylinder.